again, dear listeners. If you are new here, we are Margin Mavens and we love doodling in our books and screaming our feelings. Today, we are talking about Wrath of the Triple Goddess, the latest book from the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series by Rick Riordan. Following Percy his senior year in high school, he is trying to get recommendation letters in order to go to college because obviously saving the world multiple times isn't enough for him to get into college. He has to do so much more. In the last book, he worked with Ganymede, the cupbearer of the gods.
Oh, yeah.
And then in this book, he ends up working with Hecate?
Hecate.
Hecate.
Pronunciation guide in the back of the book.
Solid. Hecate, goddess of crossroads, angst, Halloween, all the things really in her eyes. Right off the bat, I want to say I enjoyed this one more than book one.
Really?
Kayla did not.
No.
Kayla did not. Kayla enjoyed Chalice of the Gods more. Which I think, okay, well, they can't both exist in the same sphere.
Yeah, they can. They're
okay.
Even for me. They're the same for me. They actually, if anything, I think perhaps Wrath of the Triple Goddess is just a little bit lower than Chalice of the Gods. But that's because as I was reading the book, I felt like this series was more of a cash grab than like an actual, like, Chalice of the Gods genuinely felt like a kind of love letter to older fans of Percy Jackson. But like Wrath of the Triple Goddess just felt like, I don't know. It felt like, what are we doing here? Why are we doing this? What was the point of the series?
I disagree. Okay, so I wrote on a little sticky note.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because apparently I hoard sticky notes as an educator, right? So I'm trying to slowly get through them. So I've been using sticky notes in all of my recent reads as opposed to tabs.
Yeah.
It's a terrible system. I don't recommend it, but it's great for using the sticky notes. Anyways,
Mm-hmm.
I liked how romantic some of the parts were, right? Like
Okay.
I definitely liked how you saw a lot more of like Annabeth and Percy as a couple because there was a lot more like mundanity in this one where they were kind of just dealing with their day-to-day lives, and that was cool. We got a lot more Sally in this one, and she gets a really cool like backstory in this.
Yes, that I liked. That
for anybody who is
liked.
listening, as usual, our stuff comes with spoilers. I didn't say it in the beginning. But we're only a couple minutes in, so nothing super critical has been said. But we find out that Sally actually had an interaction with Hecate when she was little, and she was wearing glasses at the time, riding her bike, right, as one does. And Hecate basically looks at her, goes like, "Your vision, like, there's nothing wrong with your vision," breaks her glasses, right? And Sally has been known throughout this entire series as being somebody, and so we've really been kind of being hinted at this, and so we find out that she actually almost had the opportunity, right, to study under Hecate if Hecate was still taking students at that point.
Right.
And so we find out Hecate had like a school for, you know, not to allude to another series, but some witchcraft and wizardry that got closed down, right? And so Sally was never able to fulfill that idea, she became who we know, she has Percy, yada yada yada. I really liked that. I'm also a sucker for Halloween vibes, and this was a really cozy, like, Halloween book that wasn't scary.
Yes.
It had very like early 2000s like Halloween Town vibes to it.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and I just really enjoyed that because it was a good palate cleanser, I guess, from our most recent reads that are a little bit heavier and have a lot more stuff going on. It was also surprisingly deep, with Grover wanting to talk about his fear that he had like subconsciously sabotaged the whole thing because he didn't want Annabeth and Percy to be able to go
Yeah.
to New Rome and everything.
Yep.
We see forgetting her name, which is unfortunate for me, but we Miss O'Leary, who I love, like we see her for like
Yeah.
a blip, right? Where so we see that Percy is still attached to her, right? It's not like I think some other characters in their animals where we find out that they have an animal and then that animal kind of just disappears into ether as like things focused on the actual
The main
person.
character. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was nice to see that she still exists. And I like that he kind of like makes a nod to it and it's like, oh yeah, like she's her own thing. Like I don't control where
Right.
she goes. You know, she's my dog, but like, you know, she doesn't need to be attached to me. Stuff like that. It was also, I think, really deep in the backstories of kind of our like villains, you know, like
Oh, yeah.
like our quote unquote villains, you know. So to put a premise here, Percy uh starts off and basically says like, oh, this month has been really quiet, like this is so weird, right? And we find out that Hecate was literally not letting anybody ask him to do things because she wanted him ready for hers, right? Which is once again just a god being incredibly frustrating in the world of Percy. And he talks about it really well because he's like, yeah, that was annoying because I could have probably had both of these done and be all set to get, you know,
Yep.
accepted and whatever. But now a god once again is meddling into like my life. So like fell for him. But literally all she wants is a like house sitter, pet sitter person. And she's like, yeah, bring, you know, your girlfriend and your friend, like everything's cool. They decide that they're gonna do the quintessential like teen thing and they're gonna throw a Halloween party, which honestly, respect.
Yeah.
I find out that I'm staying at Hecate's house, I'm throwing a party. Um and so they do all these things. It is a hellhound question mark?
Yes. And a
Yes,
polecat.
a hellhound and a polecat,
And some
right?
eels.
And some eels. We love the eels. But the polecat is, think of a weasel, but don't say that to her face, but like a weasel. These two animals are not just animals. They were once people who Hecate turns into that animal for various reasons. Like one with forgetting her name because I didn't take intricate notes in this.
Hecuba or Gale?
Gale. So Gale
The pole.
specifically, yes. Gale the polecat is a
Amazing.
like master potion maker. She was
Alchemist?
yeah. She was incredibly talented in her age, but obviously nobody in history, let's say, has ever been very fond of witchcraft. And so she starts becoming very hated by her people. And so Hecate kind of comes forward and she's like, you know, you will not ever be able to live peacefully if you have this power. So like you can get rid of your power. And Gale is like, heck no, that's my power. I love my power. And Hecate goes, okay, but that means you would not be able to live as a human. It's just not gonna happen. And so she ends up actually turning Gale into a polecat and basically treating her
as a pet.
So like starts off in like a decent motivation of like, I want you to live forever and I want you to have this knowledge and these abilities and stuff, but then really like downgrades any brownie points she could have gotten because she doesn't treat her as anything other than a pet.
Right.
And then Hecuba, is that
Hecuba?
Yeah. Her, the Hellhound, was the Queen of Troy. Her kids are violently slain.
In front of her too, right?
Yeah,
I think.
in front of her during, I believe, the Siege of Troy, right? And obviously a very traumatic moment for her. And so she ends up becoming a hellhound and is once again, or just like Gale, treated as one of Hecate's pets.
Right.
These two animals go kind of on a spree, and they're a majority of what this book is about, where they are trying to track down where these animals went. One is wreaking havoc on Greek communities because obviously, you know, being Queen of Troy.
You know, screw the Greeks energy.
Yeah, For sure. And like I don't really blame her, you know, but like
you invaded her kingdom and then murdered her family.
Yeah,
No.
I don't blame her. And then Gail really just wanted to make potions. She just wanted to live her magical little life. And we actually end up getting a nod to the Sea of Monsters, right?
Correct.
Which I didn't
I did
remember
not.
them because Sea of Monsters just kind of went over my head. Like I just read it to get to the next part. And so we see the naiads, right, that were helping Cersei.
Yep.
And so for those who have been listening and have obviously been following along this entire journey with us through the Percy Jackson universe, Percy is turned into a guinea pig in the Sea of Monsters by Cersei. Annabeth is
Offered to join.
offered like tutelage, right?
Yeah.
She says no. Percy goes free because he's, the hero of the series. The island is destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
The naiads end up being very upset, but they somehow find their way to New York, which I mean, like, fair, I guess, in the world of Rick Riordan. They're only going to ever end up in either California
Or New York.
or New York. There's no other place, right?
Well, I mean, or Boston. Except that's not the biggest Greek spot.
Oh, I just meant like in terms of like where he has his like base locations at.
Oh, yeah.
But then
For
again,
Percy.
I haven't read. Yeah. And so they end up in New York. They have like competing stores, which I think is like
They do.
weird. It's a weird
Perfume
choice.
stores.
Yeah.
Which are the worst.
Which is just a weird choice because like y'all could have definitely like beaten or made it at least harder for Percy if y'all worked together. But you're like competing against each other and then becomes tricky. And so they get Gale back, but now they're dealing with a problem because the house is destroyed, which is very like Cat in the Hat-esque.
Yes.
Which
Yes.
once again, I was into the vibes. I don't know. Good palate cleanser. Would I have liked it if I was trying to read something genuinely spooky? Probably not. And so the house ends up becoming repaired by a Danish ghost who is dealing with mommy issues.
Big time mommy issues.
We're not really ever told why, just that they exist. And so they're kind of dealing with this big epic fight. We have once again a lot of really romantic scenes with Percy and Annabeth, where Percy, despite being like the knucklehead teen, is very much like a good and supportive boyfriend, but also like really shows his commitment to their relationship because she's like, no, I can't do this. You can't do this. And he goes, okay, but like we can do it together. And I'm like, okay, solid. With the years that they've been together, it makes sense that he has this faith. And then like us as, Persebeth enjoyers, it's like, yeah, don't make me doubt this couple. And so they, fix their stuff and whatever. And then things start coming to a close when the rest of camp shows up, right? Because they forgot that they
That
had
they
invited
invited
people to a
all these people
party.
to a
So
Halloween party.
all of these demigods show up, which honestly, if you're in a pickle,
You need
and
some demigods. You do.
yeah, and you've got some ghosts that need to be destroyed.
And they immediately jumped in. No questions
And they
asked.
just
They
immediately
were like,
were
what do
oh,
you need?
we're
Okay,
attacking?
bet. Done.
And so that was super cool. I liked seeing kind of the nod to the camp and everything because it's not something that like, we're really gonna see all that often in
Anymore.
in the Percy books at least. Because once we get into, the Lost Hero series, where we get some Camp Half-Blood, but it's obviously a lot bigger in terms of like they're out in the world doing things. So it was kind of nice to just see that. I felt kind of silly. There was a moment where I was a silly little goober because I forgot that Chiron's name in human form is Mr. Bruner. And so I was like, I knew what they were alluding to because I was like, okay, he's only ever really had one teacher that he would like be, super excited to see or whatever. But I was like, why are they calling him this? Why is he in his monologue calling him this if he knows that it's Chiron? And so that kind of threw me off a little bit because he's never done it before, like he did it before he knew Chiron was Chiron.
Yeah, I
But
think
then,
it was more like seeing him in the classroom just took him right back to that, that time.
so I guess the goal was to take us back there, but all it did was
Yeah.
make me doubt my knowledge, my like Percy Jackson lore. I was like, wait.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Um,
Uh-huh.
we get I don't know. I think Rick does a really good job at making little nods to the original series in the fact that like when they're at the like tea place, Percy gets like a blueberry shake.
Yep.
And like little stuff like that, which I like it because it's not so in your face, but you can tell that it's like for those people that have been reading all along and not just like picking up this book because it's got a cool cover, which it does have a cool
Yeah.
cover. Overall, I think I gave it 4 stars, but I also gave the first one 4 stars. Kayla probably gave it like a 2.5.
I gave it like a 3,
Okay. I was
I think.
yeah. But I give it a 4 100% because of like the nostalgia factors, and I also just really like that because they're older now, you can start seeing, obviously we get lost heroes and stuff, so that kind of like changes the trajectory, but you can see like Annabeth and Percy becoming the Annabeth and Percy that I love in the fact that when they're like really secure in their relationship and stuff. Because with Lost Heroes, wait a second, now I'm
You
confused.
you have your timeline backwards, my dear.
Yeah, I was like,
It's
wait, because
it's
it's
Percy
the
Jackson and
original
the
five,
Olympians, Heroes of Olympus, and then this whatever.
this thing, which is
Yeah.
the senior year adventures, is
Ugh,
what this one is called.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's still just called Percy Jackson and the
Timeline
Olympians.
wise, yes, that's how that goes. And then I
Yeah,
believe, I imagine, if I'm thinking of my timeline correctly,
Apollo
after this
comes
would
after
be
all of this.
Trials of Apollo. Yes,
Yeah.
correct. Correct. Hmm.
So they're confusing me a little, like it's a little Fast and Furious-y, you know?
I will again reiterate my point of why are we doing this? What is the point?
I think it's a good haven't not read the Apollo, so I could very well have the same opinion of you as I read the Apollo trials and stuff, but like it feels like it's a good gap between Lost Heroes and Apollo. But we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I wouldn't doubt realistically, I wouldn't doubt if it's a cash grab because they have the Disney Plus show. They
It's
like
just,
make a point of like the dedication.
yeah, to the kiddos, which respect for
Cute,
that.
but odd.
But like, as somebody who has read Trials of Apollo without any spoilers, between finishing the Heroes of Olympus and then the Trials of Apollo coming out after, that was good. That was enough. It was like, it didn't need to be there didn't need to be 3 additional books smooshed in the middle
Maybe
like that.
it's to grab the younger readers.
Maybe.
No idea. Maybe we're just getting to a point where we're aging out of this a little
Probably, yes.
because I mean, there's plot, but it's not super plot heavy. They're like breezes to get through in comparison to like Lost Heroes and Trials of Apollo, just based on sizing, right?
Trials
Like,
of Apollo is a pretty heavy plot.
yeah. And so, I mean, like we breeze through these, but I think they're just meant to be. I think it's also like these ones aren't as deep because the
Mhm.
rest of the series are or is, you know,
I
like
guess,
all
yeah,
of
that's
the
fair. It's like a post, like,
yeah.
you went through all this crap and now
These are
here's
the
your
yeah, like these are
lighthearted.
the comedic bits in between the heartbreak,
Yeah, that's fair. That's
you
fair.
know?
I still think
I'll
we could have found a way to, like, work it in somewhere else, but
yeah,
it's
but
fine,
I
it's fine.
Rick loves listen, Disney and Rick, tight relationship. They love each other, which if we're going there for a second, which we can, is probably why Rick has not picking a big side on Palestine is because of his Mickey ears really showing, right? Not excusable,
Not
you
at
know.
all.
Free
I don't
Palestine, all of these things.
and I have
But
to
it
wonder how much of that is coloring my
yeah. And that's
although, I
mhm.
did stalk Uncle Rick on Goodreads and saw that he recently, like recently, read The 100 Years' War,
Nice.
Palestine.
Yeah, I don't doubt.
So,
It's hard because there's not really a win here, right?
Nope.
Because either he's not saying anything because he's not condemning Israel, right? Which terrible choice.
truly.
Or he's not saying anything, but he condemns Israel because he doesn't want to lose his connections to Disney, right? Which, like,
Also
your
possible.
connections to Disney is not something to equate to speaking out against a genocide, you know? Like, so it's a lose-lose, really, no matter which way we view it.
Lose-lose for us.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, it's a lose-lose for us because he's an author that I hold so dear to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I have not really sat down and been like, frick this guy, is because he's taken neutrality. But that's a slippery slope.
It's a slippery slope now, a year
Yeah.
later.
Yeah, because I'm like, oh, at the beginning I could be, but like if he just recently did that on Goodreads, right?
Yeah, but I would like to see him come out with his whole ass chest. You know what I'm saying? Like he did the first time with his crappy
Maybe
neutral
he's getting
response.
educated, you know?
I can only hope.
Maybe he's getting educated. He has never struck me as a man who
is unwilling to educate himself.
Yeah. So
yes.
I don't know.
There's no greater privilege in this world as old white men have. So, like, if anybody could tell the mouse ears, what's what? He would definitely be up there on my list.
But yeah, listeners, if you didn't know, Margin Mavens is and always will be a pro-Palestine platform.
Free Palestine, free Lebanon, free the Congo, free Sudan, free Hawaii. Also, that's me. I won't speak for Steph, but that's for sure me.
Yeah, I have a really, really good friend who I've known since I was like 14 years old, who is like native and lives in Hawaii, right?
Mm-hmm.
And every single time she invites me to go, I ask whether, because she is the one wanting me to come, if it is okay. Because I refuse to step in there otherwise.
Also, free Puerto Rico.
True.
Because I'm missing Guam. Yes. I'm missing more. I apologize if Yemen as well. I think there's too many. There's too many.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Check out Operation Olive Branch. They have a really great list of resources, where to help out, not just with regards to the genocides, but as well as the two major hurricanes that have hit the United States, Helene and Milton. So that will be linked in the Instagram, because your girl already drafted that post and scheduled it.
Solid. Okay, but this has been another episode of Margin Mavens. Thank you so much for being here, and we appreciate you.
We love you.
We love you very much, and we hope to see you in the next one.